welcome to this next episode of Doll Belly Knits. It's really actually part 2 of episode 21. Doll Belly Knits is my vlog about knitting and crocheting and other crafts with a highlight on reusing, recycling, and basically using what you have on hand to make beautiful objects. I have taken a little bit of a hiatus off, and this is the second part of what would have been a very long episode if I didn't divide it up, basically showing you what I've been doing and where I've been. Frankie is joining us for this, although I don't know how long she's going to stay. We'll see what happens. But if you are a return viewer, thank you so much for coming back and continuing to listen to me ramble about what it is that I do with my knitting, my crocheting, and the odd little adventures here and there. If you're a new viewer, you can find me here on YouTube as Doll Belly Knits, and other places on social media you can find me are as Doll Belly on Instagram and Ravelry. And there's also a Ravelry group for this vlog called Doll Belly Knits. If you just search in the group tabs, you'll be able to find me and all the other viewers in the forums chatting it up. So, last episode I talked about my works in progress and basically, where I've been and why I took a little bit of time off. And then I wanted to cut it off because it would have been a really long episode. And that would have been probably a nightmare to edit. So this episode, I do have a finished object to show. I wanted to touch base on the projects that I had in Hibernation and probably haven't talked about in a while. I kind of feel like I leave y'all hanging by just, never talking about them again. And I'm sure some of you are like, I wonder what happened to that. At least in my mind, some of you were like, I wonder what happened to that, and you're losing sleep. So I want to make sure you get a good night's rest. I'm going to tell you where my hibernation projects are at this point. Additionally, we got Christmas knitting, and we have some magical memories. First up is my finished object. I showed it to you last episode. It is the flip-flop socks. My youngest daughter saw these and she was like, Mom, what's wrong with the toes? But this is a flip-flop sock that I made up, but although I was heavily inspired by Stacy from Very Pink Knits. She did a tutorial on her own pattern of the flip-flop socks and showed you how to do the toe part. For those of you who are return viewers, I like to use a larger set of needles when I do socks, so I knew that her pattern probably wouldn't incorporate that, and I would have to make up the numbers and the stitches anyway. So that's what I did. I looked at the tutorial for the toes and kind of just went with my normal vanilla sock. This is also a yarn that I use quite often. It is the Premier brand wool-free self-striping sock yarn. This is the colorway. I did this last time too. I didn't have all the information. It's in the colorway. I'll put it up here. But I am happy, and I've been wearing them. I don't know if you can see Frankie dog hair on him, because I wear flip-flops all the time, all year round. They're kind of like my slippers, and I wear them inside the house. So this has been really nice to be able to have the sock on with the flip-flop and then take my shoes off, my flip-flops off, and put on shoes to leave the house, and there's just like a smooth transition. So I have been enjoying it. I was using leftover that I had from knitting a pair of socks for somebody else. And I do socks 2 at a time, usually on 3.75 millimeter circular, 2 sets of circular needles, 16-inch circular needles. So I already had the wool balled up into the 2 separate balls from the previous pair of socks that I made, and this was what was left over. And unfortunately, you can see, obviously one ball had just a little bit more than the other, but doesn't matter because that's not the important part of the sock. The important part of the sock is the split toe, so I can wear the flip-flops. However, I don't normally make a lot of pair of socks for myself. I think I said last time is maybe like the third or fourth pair that I've made for myself. This is the first pair, though, that I've made using the Premier brand wool-free sock yarn for myself. That's what I've been making and giving to my husband, giving to my mom. I think my sisters have pairs. Mel has a pair. And I like it because I'm very practical. I'm very frugal. I like the wool free. It can go in the washing machine and in the dryer, even if accidentally I do still hang the socks up. I'm trying to make them last for as long as possible. But if it went in the dryer, it's not a big deal because it's not actually wool. It's relatively inexpensive. I can buy a whole load of stash when I make it to Hobby Lobby or some other place that carries it and not feel guilty. However, having made a pair and worn them now, I feel like I have to apologize to everyone. I don't like the way it feels. It's terrible. And I don't know if it's actually the yarn itself or it's the fact that I use a larger needle and then the stitches are bigger. But I feel like I'm walking around on like very fine chainmail wearing these socks. So like, I'm really sorry if you have a pair of these socks and this is the experience that you're having. Perhaps this is all me and I just have really sensitive feet. Although I'm really happy that I'm not using this yarn for my brother-in-law's socks because I showed those to you last episode and he's got some special tootsies that need to be encased in specialness and this is not it. At least that's how I feel. If anybody else has used this sock yarn, I would love to hear your take on it. Put a comment in the comments box below. Let me know how you actually, like what size needles you use to knit with it. How does it feel when you wear it? Are you happy with it? Etc. etc. I was just like wearing them and I'm thinking, these actually don't feel so nice. Like, and I don't know. I've made like a lot. I've knitted every colorway. Some of the colorways I've knitted twice. Like, it was kind of upsetting. And it made me think like, you know, we have test knitters. You make up a pattern. You have a test knitter. You have several people knit it for you just to make sure that the pattern is understandable and readable and that they come out with the same project that you intend. I think we need to have test wearers at this point in time, that you need to wear it before you give it away, maybe. I don't know. That's just me. That was like my little epiphany for the day, and unfortunately, it doesn't make me happy. Anywho, I'm finished. I'm obviously going to wear them. I do like them. Again, I'm practical, and I'm, you know, that's kind of how I am and how I approach my craft. However, maybe sock knitting isn't the place to be practical. I might have to switch over completely to wools and or some other nice fluffy squishy fibers, but I know that those things come with their own problems too, because like if they're softer and they're squishier, they have a tendency to, or they can be more easily damaged. So have to think about that a little bit more. Probably at 3 a.m. when I wake up and I can't sleep, I'll be contemplating the value of wool-free or actual wool sock. Do we use mohair? Do we use camel, silk? What are we going to do? That's, yeah, me and my crazy thoughts. 3 a.m. You know you have them too. Yeah, let's move on from there. Okay, so that was the finished object. The next thing that I will, well, it's more than one thing. projects that I have shown in previous episodes and that have gone into hibernation, maybe never to be seen again. I don't have all these projects with me next to me. I know where they are, but I honestly was not going to pull them all out of the cabinet to put them on the couch next to me and then just show them to you one by one when I have fabulous pictures that I can insert in the video. So that's what I will do. I'm looking at my computer. First is the fairy tale scarf that I started for my daughter for her birthday in July. This was a request from her for a particular logo that she wanted incorporated into this scarf, and the scarf had to be pretty much white and gray plaid because that's also part of the fairy tale anime show. So it was definitely completely a custom job. But I had to use a really small needle. It's like a 2.5 millimeter needle, and I also had to use I think it's fingering weight, like it's really, really small weight yarn as well, so that I could get the logo to a reasonable size, so that it would be scarf size, not poncho or blanket size. So I finished it up to the logo and a little bit further. And she was like, yes, that's great. But her birthday's in July, so there was no point in, not that there wasn't any point to finishing the object, but she certainly didn't need it in the summer, especially not this summer with how hot it was in the UK. So I put that away for a little while. And I have pulled it out now, and I am just going through the slog of having to do this repetitive plaid pattern because the logo's done. So now it's just making the scarf long enough so that it like wraps around her neck twice. Additionally, I made the mistake of not doing like a seed border, so the scarf is completely curling up. So when I'm done, I'm gonna have to like crochet around the whole thing. So that's gonna take a little bit of while. Why do I keep saying that? It's gonna take a little bit of time, especially again because of the thinness, petiteness of the yarn. So I'm going to have to use a small crochet hook to do that as well. So I just grab it here and there, work on it for a little bit, and then put it down and go on to something else, because it's just one of those projects that have to keep pushing through and do a little bit here and there to try and finish it off. If you're interested to see more about that particular scarf, the fairy tale scarf, that's over in episode 18. Next on the hibernation list is the reusable snack bags. I really talked a lot about them in episode 10 of the show. These are the bags that I was using to put in my daughter's lunches, their packed lunches, so that not only could we save money on buying a larger share bag of crisps, it's saving the planet one crisp packet at a time, because you don't have all the little individual packets going into the trash and then the ocean, etc., etc. I had decided that it was time to make new ones. The old ones are looking pretty ratty. They've been used for a long, long time. Additionally, the insert that I sew, I had used a sticky back Velcro, and that was starting to come off and leave some residue because of repeatedly using them and wiping them out, etc., etc. So I took them aside. I did rip out the inserts of the old ones, and I started making a new one. I decided on a Doritos bag. It's like spicy salsa brand, whatever. The bag is black, and then it has the design on front. So I knitted the bag. And then I was kind of stuck on the design. I wasn't liking the back stitching that I was doing to put the word Doritos on. So I kind of put that aside, thinking maybe I'll crochet the letters. I wanted to put it aside, have a little think about how I was going to finish it. Flash, blah, 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 blah. Flash forward, we move the girls from their school. We take them out of the not nice school and put them in the nice school. Part of the nice school's requirements is that you don't bring packed lunch, you have lunch at school. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like, packing their lunch is like part of my life. I get so much satisfaction from putting the sweetie bags in, from the reusable snack bags, like, but I mean, I understand where they're coming from. It certainly is a way to control and almost assure with 100% certainty, almost, nothing's ever 100%, but assure that, no nuts are brought in, there's no accidental contamination for food allergies, things like that. If the school is controlling, this is what's for lunch, this is what you can have. So that project is still kind of off to the side because I don't really need it anymore, unfortunately. So sad. But to be honest, like the other day, I went to get a Tupperware container to put like a little snack in for them, because they still take like an apple or something with them to school to keep them going until it is lunchtime. I had like no Tupperware containers. They were all in use and or in the dishwasher. It was just like, and then I was thinking, could have used a reusable snack bag. So maybe I will push that up and bring that to the forefront, but we'll see, because to be honest, it's like beginning of October now, and Christmas knitting, yeah, I am not as far along on Christmas knitting as I would like to be. So anyway, next hibernating project, the wet bags. Episode 16, I showed you a wet bag that I had made for putting in a wet bathing suit. My middle daughter used to do diving, and we were going swimming quite often. We stopped diving so she could get her ears pierced again, and we never picked it back up. However, part of the new school, their PE class, is that they do swimming. So I do have the one wet bag, and I have the fabric cut out for, I think I have fabric cut out for 4 more wet bags, because I was going to make one for each of us. So I may also have to bring that to the forefront and see if I can make another wet bag, just so that there is at least one in the queue waiting. They don't all have swimming or PE on the same day, so I can get by with the one that I have. It's just always nice to have a backup. The issue with that is that my sewing machine, again, if you're a, oh, I just realized I'm probably making noise. I'm patting Frankie, giving her like a little internal massage here. Her organ, just crazy. I just like the sound. I pat, it's my baby. Oh, Lordy. For those of you who are return viewers and have seen other episodes, specifically the episode on the wet bags, you know that my sewing machine is all jacked up. The spindle that's supposed to hold the spool of thread is completely broken off. I've had to put in like a mega clip to hold it in place, and I spend way more time threading and rethreading the needle than I do actually sewing. So it's not something that I look forward to. It's just, I'm trying to touch base and let you know where I am with all these things, all these creative processes that I started and then just never finished. Yeah, so you may be seeing another wet bag soon. You may not. Right, next object on my hibernation list is the redo of a pair of socks for my hubby. Talked about this in episode 9. Basically, I had knit hubby a pair of socks that he had for years and years, and then he brings them to me one day recently and says, can you redo the cuffs because they're kind of loose and I'd like them to be a little tighter. So I said, sure dear, absolutely, I'll do that. And actually what it ended up being was I had recently got my hot little hands on a pair of Addy Crazy Trio Flexi Flips needles, whatever you want to call them, because they have 2 different names depending on whether in the US or UK. So I had was able to get a pair because they were difficult to keep in stock for some of the local yarn stores, and I figured I'd give them a go. They were smaller size needle, like a 2.25, so I knew that that would bring the cuff in without having to completely redo the sock or take out a whole bunch of stitches. I hate those needles. I hate them. Hate's a strong word. They are not for me. They are not for me for a number of reasons. First reason is that I would have to do socks one at a time, and that is not my jam. Second reason is I could not get into using them, how you had to bend them to use them and make them work. I couldn't do it. And I put them in hibernation thinking maybe when I have some more time or when I feel up to it, I can try and give it a go again. At this point, I mean, that was episode 9? We're on episode 21. I haven't touched them since. Like, it's not going to happen. So what I think I am going to do is my knit group was talking about having a swap night. So I'll probably bring those along to put in the swap basket, and somebody else who wants to give them a go, who's been wanting to try them, who likes to knit one sock at a time, maybe they will fancy them and I will get myself something else that I will end up actually using. Next on the hibernation list is the venomous tentacula. That is a real shame that I didn't finish it because Yarndale just happened this past weekend, and I had originally bought the wool for the tentacula at Yarndale in 2017. Bought it with Mel. We both bought the same type of yarn. It is Crafty Ripples Reliable Sock Yarn Base. So we both got a skein of that because they had a venomous tentacula knit up and displayed, and we thought, oh, that'd be great. We'll do a little bit of a knit along. I just didn't finish it. It was slow going because of the beading. I've never knit and bead something before, so that was my first time beading. So it was a little bit more slow going. I felt like I had to sit at a table in order to knit it so that I could have the beads and the little crochet hook to put the bead on the wool. And then because it's for me and I wanted to start getting into Christmas knitting, and I tend to be a gift knitter, like I usually give away what I knit. So I did put it away. Additionally, I think I may have pilfered the needle out of it at this point to use on another project. So it still exists. It's still there. Hopefully one day I will finish it because the beading was really nice. I got the beads from a local store called Bead, and I kind of just went in and chose what fancied me at the time. And there's some sparkles, there's some Indian themed, like an elephant, and some other items. So it is really pretty, and maybe in the spring I'll be able to pull that back out and get going on that as well. Because I took the needle out for Christmas knitting, so I can't use the needle until I'm done Christmas knitting at this point in time. I got 2 more hibernation projects, and then I promise I will move on to Christmas knitting. The Socks of Doom, episode 3. The Socks of Doom, they ended up being called because it's a pattern called Effervesce, and I just kept messing it up and messing it up. I think I redid it 3 times, and then I got to the point where I ran out of wool, and I realized that they weren't going to fit my mom's foot because they were pretty snug on my foot, and my foot is smaller. So those went into hibernation while I was waiting for replacement wool to show up. Additionally, in the meantime, I have also pilfered a needle from that project for the fairy tale scarf. So can't go back to knitting that until I finish the fairy tale scarf, which unfortunately is a kind of hibernation project. So who knows? Could be like a new segment on the show, because I'm getting a feeling that I'm making this circular issue for myself where I have a project in hibernation. So I'll just take the needle out and I'll start something else, but then that needs to go into hibernation, and on and on. Knitter problems. They're real. Last but not least is all the reclaimed wool that I still have in hibernation. Episode 4 and 5, I showed the entire process of going through reclaiming wool from a sweater that I got from a charity shop. It was actually, if I do say so myself, a good episode. I was very lucky to find that sweater in the charity shop, because it was a hand knit sweater that somebody had donated to the charity shop. So it wasn't something that had been machine made in a store for one of the big chain, the retailers, big chain retailers. It was definitely a hand knit garment. So I was able to reclaim quite a bit of wool from that. And my idea was that I was going to knit something with it, make a pattern, and knit with it. And that's kind of where I got stuck. Usually when I design a pattern or make something out of my head, it's because I need something. Again, I'm totally very practical in my knitting and the way that I approach life in general. But so I'm kind of stuck on this, designing something, have to design something that I don't see what I'm going to use it for, that it's basically a design for a wearable object for the sake of having the wearable object. So I'm a little bit stuck on that. And again, Christmas knitting comes into play pretty early in the year for me. So that got put off to the side, and that's where it remains, unfortunately. Again, hopefully maybe that'll be something I can pick up in the new year and kind of force myself. I don't know that, should you force yourself to do something when it's supposed to be a hobby or a craft? Probably not. And forcing yourself to do anything usually means that it's not going to end up, well, it may just not be the best project or the best outcome, but we'll see. I have certainly not forgotten about it, and I wanted to let you all know that I haven't forgotten about it either. If anybody has any ideas about what I can do with all the reclaimed wool, please drop me a comment and let me know, because I am just stuck in that area. And until I can move along, unfortunately, that's where the reclaimed wool is going to stay, in the hibernation cabinet. Sounds like a Star Trek episode. It's in the hibernation chamber. And that's where it's going to stay. Right. Okay. So now we can go on to the part of the show that's about Christmas knitting. Yay! Right. Family members, specifically, you know what? Just nuclear family members, just look away. Just look away. I will let you know when you can come back. So, I have been working on, hang on. Ooh, okay, good. Okay, so I've been working on something out of this for daughter number 1 for Christmas. Specifically, it is that. Don't want to show too much of the pattern because it's obviously from a book and the book's not in print anymore. That's a nice picture. That one's a nice picture. Okay, so I finished this part of it. And I'm super happy. I am using a yarn. Of course I'm using a yarn. I hate when don't have it together. Okay, so I'm using Vanna Style. It's a Lion brand yarn. It is, this colorway is called Charcoal. Is actually 100% acrylic. This is where I think is a good time to be frugal when you're doing this kind of project, especially for somebody who's younger or a teen, because you just don't know how much wear they're going to really be able to get out of it. So when I was considering doing this project, I did look at several different yarns and consider my options, and in Ravelry, this is the great part, I went and stalked other people's projects to see how they did it and what they used, and there were 1 or 2 Ravelry users who used acrylic. So, and the one in particular used the Vanna Style. So I was able to chat with her about it and ask her how it worked, and she said it was great. And I too have been happy so far, because although I can't test wear it, I did do a swatch like a good girl, and additionally I put the swatch in the washing machine, and I think I put it in the dryer too, and there is no noticeable difference between the two. So I got this part done, and I'm also up to here. So super excited. It's, you know, it is kind of a lot of stockinette stitch right now, so that's nice because I can just move along and keep things going. But I don't know if you'll be able to see. So like this obviously hasn't been washed or dried because it's still on the needles, and then here's the swatch that was washed and dried. Make that happen there. So I don't see any difference. Like, it's, you know, there's not any pilling there. This is the same size. It didn't like shrink up or anything like that. So I'm super excited that there may actually be lots of wear for this particular project. There's hope that there'll be lots of wear for this particular project. So that's where I am with Christmas knitting right now. Additionally, I have plans for the other 2, and it ended up being thematic in nature. I will put in names of the other 2 projects that I plan on working on up here, and you'll be able to get the idea of where I'm going this Christmas. So I have the yarn and all together with the needles for this project, and I'm waiting on yarn. My sister ordered me some yarn, so I'm waiting on that to come so I can start this project. So super excited about that. I probably will be more excited than they will. That's usually how it is. Not always. That's not the last. Was it last? It was either last Christmas or the Christmas before. Everyone was really excited and really happy with the gifts that they got. So that's always a joy to, because you spend so much time on it, to give the gift and have the person be really happy and appreciative. And you never know with teenagers what's going to happen. So that's where I am with Christmas knitting right now. Yes. So nuclear family, you can come back to the device that you're watching this show on. Yes. Obviously, I'm a chatty Cathy, and this episode is getting a little long as well. And I haven't even started on the magical memories portion. So, hate to do this to you, but I think I'm going to cut it off here, and this is going to end up being a 3-part episode. However, next episode, really juicy, because it's not only magical memories for some places that we visited and I was able to do some knitting. It will include my haul and my day at Yarndale 2018. I had a fabulous time with the ladies and with all the squishiness and the animals, and yeah. So yeah, let's do that. We will cut it off here. There will be a part 3 to episode 21. I promise that'll be it, because it's getting ridiculous, I know. But we'll be able to talk about all the magical, squishy, wooliness adventures that have happened to me recently, and I will show you my haul and my stash and the just a few items that I purchased at Yarndale 2018. So until next time, I hope that you have some happy knitting. I hope that you stay well, and I do hope that you get out there and make some magical memories of your own. Until next time, see you later. Bye.